We still might need a fence, to get them to go under.
Yeah.
Hey, Ellen, that report, I was gonna print out that
Hey.
PowerPoint thing, and I thought, 99 pages,
For which one?
the Heron Point Management Plan.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a big one.
99.
And 45 front back is a
Whoa.
lot of toner going on.
I know.
Yeah, he's going to give us a hard copy, so I don't think you need to print.
Okay, now we're at 7, so we'll go ahead and get started. So, good evening and welcome to the Thursday, September 9th, 2021 Newmarket Conservation Commission meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sue, could you call the roll, please?
Yep. Patrick Reynolds,
Present?
Melissa Sharples. Here. Ellen Snyder,
Here.
David Bell. Here. Chris Blackstone,
Here.
Sam Kenny,
Here.
Jeff Goldnoff, Megan Brayback. And Melissa Brogel is, will she call you?
She emailed at the last minute.
All right. We have nobody here so far for public comments. So, regarding the minutes, we actually don't have the minutes from August 12th, but we do have the minutes from our last public hearing to approve and from our non-public session to approve. Did everybody get a chance to review those minutes?
The non-publics were from July 8th.
July 8th, thank you, Sue. Do I have a motion to approve the non-public minutes?
No.
I move to approve the non-public minutes.
Okay, there's a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, if it matters.
Okay,
With 2 abstentions.
and do I have a motion to approve our public hearing minutes from August 17th?
I can do that. I'll move that we approve the minutes of August 17th for the public hearing.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, just to summarize what everybody has probably heard, at the last town council meeting, there was an approval for Newmarket to accept an executory interest in the Neal Mill property, 75 Neal Mill Road. And so that will go forward. In addition, on September 1st, CELT did successfully close their real estate transaction, so they are now the owners of that property as well. I think that those are the two primary highlights of that. I don't know if there's anything else, but we'll see if in town council report there is anything. But I just want to thank everybody. Ellen was there representing us, but everybody who put efforts in over the years to make this project happen. I feel like it's great news, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see the future out there and what will happen. I'm sure it'll all be great.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, some excitement in the background. The only other issue I had was I wanted to make sure I had a resident who is in a butter to Picassac Loisel, and right on on the border between his property and that property on a stone wall. I would describe it as the southern boundary, well off a trail. There is a large pine tree that is dying. I took some pictures of it. I just had one on my property that was removed like this. Basically, it's one where you walk up to the base and you can see the rots, the termite right in there. You could, reach in. There's a big gap there, and you can reach right in and like feel the softness of the pine wood. So it definitely looks like it could fall down. And if it did fall down, it would fall down possibly onto a small shed on his property that he has in his backyard. So he would like to take that tree down. And I didn't see any objection to that because I did see the hazard, but I didn't know if other people want to go out there and look at it. It could be something that could be looked at when the monitoring is done. I don't think it's an imminent danger right away, but I do think he's got a legitimate concern about it. And again, it's right on the stone wall. It's like kind of growing up through part of the stone wall up there. So,
He would have it taken down himself, or do it himself, or pay for it himself? Or
he's not asking us to pay for it or anything. He is just saying he would take care of it. I personally said if it was me, I would pay someone to take care of it because it is a large tree, and if he makes a mistake, it could fall on his property. If it falls on it falls into the forest, it's not going to obstruct a trail or anything. It's well off. It's a trailless area in that area. If you know that border where the stone wall is, it kind of curves around there, and then it goes way up a hill. It's not an area where it would fall on any public person or anything. So I said I would bring it up.
If you were to take it down, would we have it
It would
fall
fall,
into the property
yeah,
and
I
just
would
leave it?
suggest to drop it onto the conservation land. I mean, actually, trees like that are good habitat for animals and stuff like that, so I would have no problem with it dropping down. It doesn't have any value as a timber tree itself because it's rotted, so I don't think he's gonna try and take it or anything.
Is it a sticky wicket though, just looking at it from 10,000 feet? So if this is our property, this is the pine tree, and this is his property.
Right.
He comes over to our property, takes down the tree, it kicks back, it hurts him, the chainsaw hurts his ankle, Now, is it a workman's comp thing? He was doing something on our behalf,
Right.
taking down our diseased tree.
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, I don't know what the liability, if there's any liability for us.
He's acting as an agent for us when he's taken down our harmful tree.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And heaven forbid, it gets very sticky when it goes awry.
Right.
Someone's walking their dog over here. Tree falls, hurts dog. It's so innocent. Dog, I would shy away from having a civilian citizen doing something on our property like that.
Typically, though, you don't allow volunteers to use chainsaws. It's a pretty
Right.
standard thing
Yeah.
not to allow volunteers to use chainsaws.
And when it's a town event, like the garbage pickup day or something, then you are covered with the town because you're acting on something that was approved by them to do. But
Yeah.
as volunteers, you're covered under those things. But I couldn't just go say, well, I'm going to go out here and do this and this and this, and then get hurt and then say, oh, I was volunteering for the town, because there was no vote or no sanctioning of the event or no endorsement.
So maybe the answer is you can take the tree down with an approved contractor, and as long as the person has their own liability coverage, just like the people we're having do our trail work, we would have no issue with it, but if you decide to take it on your own, then you would have to go out and get liability coverage yourself or something. 'cause
Yeah,
we-
it
we
needs
just
to be
wouldn't wanna
somebody who's
do-
already licensed and
Yeah,
bonded.
yeah.
It sounds like you're saying though, is it right on the boundary? So it's sort of,
It literally is right on the boundary, like, I think though, it probably would, if someone, I don't know what a surveyor would say, but I think they would say it's on our side majority. I don't know what the rulings are on trees, like if 80% of it's on our side of the property, does that make it
probably
ours?
ours, yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe it's the
that's
center.
how I would describe it. It's big enough that its root systems are, and it's spread through the wall a little bit there,
Yeah.
so.
It's not terribly expensive to have a tree person just drop the tree. It's not like they have to climb it. They're just gonna
Right.
drop it on our property, so
Just to get them out there though, I
it's
can't
gonna
imagine.
be a few $100s.
Yeah, it's gonna
It's
be,
gonna be $100.
okay. I can let them know that seems perfectly reasonable, that we would just wanna go through.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's truly a hazard tree and it's on town property and it falls on his property and damages his property, would we be liable for the cost of
It's not, I don't think it's clear.
fixing it?
So it's a very murky, I think.
Yeah, it's quirky, because it could be, it was incumbent upon us to have noticed the tree was getting diseased and potentially hazardous.
Right, and so it'd be, as it's our hazard tree, is it our burden to remove it?
Yeah. I don't know if anyone else has been out to that area before. Well, I think some of you might have monitored that Gassapois out. We have seen people take trees down along the border there before. And that's part of why I'm aware of this issue, is that people would drop trees that they thought were gonna come into their property, and they didn't even come to us. So this person, I feel like, is doing the right thing and coming to us and saying that. So I do really appreciate that, because I am concerned that that's happened in the past out there. I've seen trees sort of dropped out there.
You could ask Rick Malasky, because they can drop trees, and maybe if it's just dropping, his crew can do that.
Yeah, okay. That's good. All right. Treasurer's report, did everyone get a copy? Ellen sent it around?
Okay, yeah, we haven't had one for a few months. So let's see, for the general fund budget, which we start off July 1 with $2,900, we have spent so far $498.90. I think all of that for Sue's great work. And so we have a total balance of $2,401.10. And we haven't expended any money in any of the other categories to date. For the conservation fund, the balance, the total balance is $171,311.08. The Shanda Fund is a portion of that, and that's been steady at $4,764.46. And so basically the conservation fund, the money that we typically spend, is $166,546.62. But be aware that if you looked at that summary sheet that I sent, at the bottom there's a list of things we've approved. And of course, the big ticket item was the $75,000. So if we add all those up, we have to deduct over $80,000. So if we have our working balance for the conservation fund, we're at $85,753.90. And I have if anybody has questions, but I have a question about one of the items that hasn't shown up in terms of debits is the $1,500 for the scholarship. That has not been paid. Did we
Right.
do anything
because
about that?
I reached out to them.
There wasn't one. I thought we,
We had an applicant, there was an interest in awarding to that person,
Uh-huh.
but they never replied to provide us more information.
Oh, okay.
So there was nothing, I mean, I
Oh, okay, there
said,
was nothing to
in
do,
order
okay.
for us to do this, we need to know, a little bit more, like, what college are you attending?
Okay.
And where should we send this? I've never got any
Okay.
additional information.
Do we want to hold it on the books, or do we want to rescind that appropriation?
I think at this point, we probably should rescind it because we haven't received anything.
I have a concern about that, just to put it to the group to mull over. Would there be a happy medium where we say, we let the student know, you were awarded this, did you end up going to a college? What if it's a
Yeah.
COVID situation and they decided, I'm not gonna go this year, I'm gonna defer going? We
Okay.
could hold this, earmark it for that student and say, if you know by X date, you're gonna start in X semester or X academic year, then we're happy to award you the scholarship. I hate to penalize the student for not going to college and incurring 80K debt over something that this could really help toward, if their decision not to go was based on online learning at home instead of real college.
I mean, they sounded like they had a plan. I just never heard much back from them. We typically actually didn't even, it's not like we sent it to the college. We awarded it to the student, but we did at least get that information so we could announce that, we could
Yeah.
put that in our, we didn't receive that, so I will follow up with them again. So
I have-
before we rescind that, we will
Yeah,
do
I
one
think
more
that's a good
follow-up.
idea. And I have a couple other, when we get to some other items, I have some new funding requests. But any questions on the budget?
Can I ask a question? Just because I haven't been around for a while. The Shanda Fund?
Yeah.
Because that was much, I remember that being much lower.
Yeah,
years ago.
was it the American Legion? Or the,
So
yeah,
the Masonic
Masonic.
Lodge
Masonic
of
Lodge.
Newmarket disbanded. And when they disbanded, they had a fund in there that was associated with Mr. Shanda, Joe Shanda, I believe. And they decided that they would take their remaining funds and donate them to the park, since he had been, the supporter to create that park. So that's where that money came in, although I think that money is going to be used, it's already sort of earmarked for part of the project, which Sam could provide an update on
Yeah,
when we
that's-
get to
that's
that.
excellent.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was
just
nice,
curious
yeah.
where it came from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That was
exactly
like-
where
That was a
it's
few
came
$100
from.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
trying to empty it, because they
Yeah.
want us to kind of dissolve that fund. So,
Yeah.
That's great.
no,
Yeah.
it's just sitting there.
Not great that they disbanded, that's great that they.
Yeah, it was nice of them to do that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any?
Yeah, I think that's it
anything
for
else?
now
Nope?
for the
Okay.
budget.
All right. So Sam, you've got a lot of news on the riverfront. Why don't you give us an update?
Yeah, definitely a lot of occurrence in the last month. So I guess starting with the negative news, the town was not selected through New Hampshire DES for the Coastal Resiliency Grant. So we applied, but were not awarded the grant. So that was a bummer. On the flip side of the coin, though, we had Parallel Path, a separate opportunity with, and I'm completely blanking on who holds the overarching grant, but basically spearheaded through New Hampshire DES. They have a grant that they've received and are administering, where they are hiring industry design professionals, engineers, landscape architects, botanists, that kind of array of people. UNH is also heavily involved to look at a few different sites along Great Bay for living shorelines. I think there was like 17 or 18 spots they were looking at. They selected 4, of which Shanda Park was one of them. So kind of immediately on the heels of getting some bad news, we got some good news with that. So that grant program, basically what they're aiming to do is provide in this case, the town of Newmarket, with basically some sort of living shoreline design in or around the Shanda Park area to like a 50% level. You know, get past the conceptual design and really rough out an idea, which would allow the town to determine if it's something they want to pursue or not. So there was a large meeting, I guess, last Wednesday, down at Shanda Park with the full design team. Megan, you're also there as well. So we met with them, we got to see who was involved, they walked around and took some notes and measurements and all of that. I don't think it's gonna be a particularly fast process. I kind of asked about that on the side. It seems like probably we won't hear a whole lot for another 6 to 8 weeks likely, since pretty much all of these people are kind of doing it on the side, you know, pro bono for the most part. But it's an exciting opportunity to look at it. I think they're excited too, just because it's a different environment than most of the other spots along the bay that I think they were looking at. So I think it'll present a challenge to them. Outside of that, we're kind of at a stopping point until we see how a few other things break. There is at least one article that will potentially go in front of the Capitol committee for the town to explore other things related to the riverfront. But that's basically all it is at this time. So that's our focus has shifted away from kind of immediate design to trying to assist with the UNHDES program and the living shoreline design, and then also maybe seeing how the capital articles go, and if the town wants to move forward with looking at a bridge or larger riverfront improvements. So that's sort of where that stands.
I'm sorry about the grant. You guys worked really hard on that. You did a good job. Was there any feedback that we might be, like, were they like at all enthusiastic about us applying again or anything like that? Or
No, we did get good feedback. I don't remember offhand exactly what it was, but basically I think a lot of people sought grant programs this year more so than usual, especially with a lot of the infrastructure bills and ARPA stuff. I think just all grants got significantly more applications than they usually do. So I think the stat that I got from DES was they only funded 40% of the applications this year, which is much lower than they usually do. So unfortunately, we were on the outside looking in.
was there, I want to ask one other question. Maybe Megan knows about this. So we have I know there's the fund that was, or the money that came related to the COVID bill, relief bill, but that has very specific parameters. Does infrastructure of this kind fall under that?
Somewhat. So I know enough to get in trouble from my day job. Not 100% factual information, but probably close. For the most part, the infrastructure funding under that bill, I believe, was primarily water, wastewater, and potentially broadband. So I don't know how vague the water category was being viewed. Usually it's more like drinking water administration stuff. I also don't think really any direction was given at the state level of how to administer those funds.
Right.
I think basically end of August, early September was the earliest they thought they might even hear anything about it. So I don't think anyone knows yet, but the answer is probably not.
Probably not. Okay. I thought it was at least worth asking.
Yeah.
I was thinking more in terms of stormwater related stuff, since it sort of is a gray area with wastewater, stormwater, because that area is a focus of stormwater, right? We know that that's contributing to the issues down there. So
Yep. And I can be completely wrong. I'm willing to
I
entertain that, because I don't think anyone really knew how the federal monies would be administered, which is why so many people applied for grants, because they
Right.
wanted to get their projects listed anywhere, so someone might pick them up.
right. It's all very fuzzy still. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that update, and it's good news on the UNH front. So congratulations again to you guys on that.
So a really interesting opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Town council?
Of course, Neil Mill is the biggest update in the Mill Road project, is the biggest update from town council, but just some other things that might be of interest. The website for the town is getting redone in a way that I am definitely really excited about. It's going to be a bit much more focused on the experience of the user, right, so the citizen or whoever to be able to access the resources they need. So I think that's a long overdue project that I'm excited to see. And then in the second reading next week, we'll be voting on accepting Revision Energy as a preferred vendor for the solarized Newmarket project, which allows local residents to take advantage of federal tax credits for solar installations. So just voting on the vendor is on the second reading next week.
A question about the website. We've chatted a little bit about trying to add more things under the Conservation Commission website. You know, some of the topics we've had, and there's, you know, great information that we could link to, and maybe put a little bit more about our conservation areas. Do you know, is that something we can do? And if so, who would we work with? Would it be Wendy or, you know?
These are great questions that I'm going to write down and find the answer to.
Okay.
I'm not quite
Cool.
positive who's kind of running that or what the timeline is. It was just kind of made as an announcement. So I'll
Okay.
reach
Yeah,
out
that'd be
and let
great
them
to
know that we're
find out.
interested in
Thank
having
you.
some updates.
Thanks.
Planning board?
Planning board has not met since our last meeting. We meet next week. Our previous meeting was 2 days before our last conservation commission. On our agenda is, it's a urban development, which I'm not sure the Concom would be overly interested in. It's the, what is it? 56 Exeter Road by the railroad tracks.
Oh, that property that's been sitting there vacant for a while, yeah. Well, stormwater runoff, right?
That's right, and I recuse from the discussion on the project as our firm worked on the
Yeah.
survey end of it.
Everything ends up in the same place in that area, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure it'll come back with some discussion on zoning or master plan at next month's conservation meeting.
All right, conservation connections. Chris, you've got,
Sure, we'll hear some from Ellen and some from Melissa and even some from you, Patrick, about what are you planning on doing with Neil Mill Road, with that part of the day. So I passed around a brochure that the library has done for us. Lauren, specifically at the library, put this together from some of our earlier information. We still have the Park and Rec building to use for the day. It's still kind of fuzzy because the publicity has just started going out, so we don't even have a guess of how many people might show up for this. So I'd like to ask everybody here to do what you can to talk it up through your channels or your friends or your social media. And moreover, if everybody here could figure a way to help that day, it would be great. So for instance, at the rec center, we'll need somebody to introduce a speaker or kind of keep the program moving along, especially because these are short programs. So in a half-hour time span, they come, they get introduced, give their presentation, and the people go to a second choice presentation. After the second one, the people go about their merry way with the map to the properties that we've highlighted for additional speakers, information, or project work there. So we'll need people at the rec that day. And we should have people at the sites as well to give some extra park here, park there, answer questions, give that extra boost of being the Conservation Commission, people that are going to be visible for whatever guests we have that day. The throw of the die here that we don't know is how many people are going to go in their own car and go to these sites, how many people are going to go in one of the rec center's vans and go to the site. And the van thing is amorphous right now because although it had a lot of interest early on, people now feel like, obviously with the variants coming up, we don't know how many people are still going to stick with the van idea. But the vans are available to us, and Kim Tilton from the Sunrise Center will be advertising through her channels for people to get on board a van and drive to the sites, which will help us a lot with the parking at some of these sites. We have Melissa, who's not here, has taken care of some of the refreshment aspect, getting coffee donated for us for the morning at the rec center. And before I ask Melissa or Ellen to give some more information about their aspects with the social media side of it, and Ellen with the volunteer project side of it, I do want to go away from this topic a little bit, but it's a tangent. The library, September is Get a Library Card Month, and our library would like to participate on this national program and have as many people as possible get library cards. So I would just like to ask you, kind of in return for everything they're doing for us, let alone, I think libraries are cradles of civilization and democracy and culture, if you could consider going over there. This month, there's no way to do it online. You go in person, show a driver's license or proof of residency, and get a library card. And they're having a really good time with it. The few people have done it so far get their picture taken doing it, and the library puts it on their social media channel. So consider doing that if you don't have a library card or if you need to renew your library card. That's something we can do for the library as part of their help with us. I don't think we had talked before about the children's librarian doing things for kids in a tandem way for our October 2nd event. The children's library will have a display set up of books related to gardening, ecology, outdoors, habitats, wild animals, that kind of thing. And the children's librarian is putting together packets kids can get that are a nature journal and packets they can get which are ways to explore tracking and footprints. So there's a couple of things to the new children's librarian to get for the younger set who might be interested with their families in participating. Then a fun cycle through all that is the rec center is then going to give any of the kids who do the library program, give them some points and credits toward the rec center's after-school hobby club programming. So it's really tied together lots of branches of our municipal, what makes Newmarket so vibrant in interesting kind of ways. So Melissa about social media and Ellen about the volunteer project. It'd be fun for us to hear about.
Now that the October 2nd event pamphlet has been put together, I'll be posting that with all that information on the Facebook page. I'll be creating an event actually within the group so that people can sign up and we can get an idea of how many people are considering coming, and then provide a way for people who may not be on Facebook. They can reach out to us, just giving contact information and things like that. So
That's a choice in the brochure that they can call the rec center. Just say, hi, put my name on the list. So.
Yeah. We'll get that.
That covers a lot of people, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully, yep. So that's pretty much it. We'll get that going tonight.
Is it worth, I don't know, is it worth putting it on the front of our town website? Do people go there to look for events? Do we know?
Anything is worth something.
Because there is like an event, they put up things that are happening, right?
Yes,
Maybe
on the
this,
calendar,
On the
yep,
town calendar.
town calendar.
yeah.
Yeah, can you take care of that as part of the social?
Sure.
I think
And
that's
when we were sitting
probably
down.
Wendy's
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
calendar.
could be windy.
When we first sat down, I asked Tim Crimmen what to do to get, Channel 13 has those announcements that roll through. He said if he had a JPEG or PowerPoint slides to get them to him, and he could put them up on the Channel 13 scrolling thing, which reaches a whole nother set of people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. So do you mind doing
Yep,
the Tim
I
Crimmen
will do
piece too?
that too.
And this month's newsletter, e-news, townwide e-news, it was dedicated, the whole column was dedicated to this event. And I don't know if we have a blast email capability during the month to switch things up, but it sounds like we're really well covered between getting these brochures out in the library's channels and what you're doing for us.
Yeah,
Melissa.
and we've got, once I get the event posted to the conservation group, I'll share it to the couple of
All right.
separate Newmarket Facebook groups
Nice.
to get the traffic.
I'm sorry, you mentioned the town newsletter, right? The weekly one?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's Chris, the newsletter.
The
E-news.
Friday
Yeah,
e-news
e-news,
from
yeah.
Town
Okay,
Hall.
you did
Yeah.
say, sorry. I missed that.
Yeah, that has about 1,500 subscribers with an average of 500 open it and read it or not, but 500, about a third of the people open it, so. And Ellen, your piece is a huge portion of this. Few people I've spoken to with about the volunteer aspect are thrilled that you come, you do something, it got done, and you went home. That's
That's
very
cool.
rewarding compared to some projects that take repeat visits, so.
Yeah, so this will cross into a little bit on the next topic, but let me talk about what we're thinking for the volunteer part of this day. So my thought was we would have people go there, we'd give a little, stand on the overlook there and give a nice, summary of Heron Point, the management plan that we just had completed, the trail work we're thinking about. And then for the volunteer work itself, I met with Rick Molaski this morning out there. And if you know the site well, you go in and you park. And what I had thought was we could do, and I think what Greg, our trails person, recommended is using what they call hard pack, the gravel, that we would lay the path from the parking area down past the kiosk to the larger platform. But Rick said if you look at it, it made sense this morning, when you look at it, all the water funnels down the road in the parking area right where the path is right now. So he said, if you put hard pack, it's just going to get washed away. So he and I looked, and the concept we've come up with, if you all think this is a good idea, you kind of have to be there. But he is willing, before October 2nd, to go out and excavate essentially a rectangle right where the current path is, kind of in front of the kiosk, but not right up to the kiosk. Probably I don't know, a 10 by 20 area, maybe not that big an area, 10 feet by 10 feet maybe. So he would excavate down 6 inches and then put larger rock there. So the idea is that the water would come in and get slowed and hopefully capture some of the material and stop it from flowing down, continue to flow down the path. So then what we're thinking about is to the right of that area, we would make the path. So we'd shift the path over a little bit, and it would come around and then connect back where the existing path is and down the boardwalk. So we do what we want to do, but we would just relocate the path a little bit. And I'll probably go back out and look at that a little bit. And then we need a water bar above where the path is going to go. So you don't have to go across the water bar, because we want to make this path accessible so that, if you have even maybe a wheelchair or at least, some issue, that you'll be able to go out and get at least out to the platform, because that's such a nice spot for people to visit. The trick is that the kiosk is over, if I'm looking back at the parking lot, the kiosk is here, the problem area is here, and the path we want to do is here. And so it doesn't bring people to the kiosk. But Rick and I thought that it's not a great solution, but that we could still have a little bit of a path. So you could come down, you could look at the kiosk, and if you have no mobility issues, you could walk across this larger thing and hook up to the path. If you have a mobility issue, you may have to go to the kiosk, come back, and then take the trail. It's really the only solution we have to fixing the site out there, because the whole thing slopes right and funnels right to the board where we want to go. So it seems like a good solution to me. Rick is willing to do that work in-house for us. He would order the bigger rock, and he would order the hard pack for us and get that delivered before October 2nd. So assuming it all goes to plan. Now, if he can't, for some reason, he has other things he's got to get done before October 2nd and can't get out there, we could still do this other path with the volunteers. So they don't have to be done in that order, but so he estimated, and it's just an up to amount, the cost for the materials could be up to $600. He doesn't think it'll be that much, but so that's for the bigger rock and the hard pack, and then he would do the excavating. That would be in-house. So what I would do is I would go out before October 2nd, sort of lay out the path, and then get some wheelbarrows and some shovels, and then whatever volunteers, we just would move the hard pack.
Before October 2nd, you're saying?
No, I would go out there before to make sure,
It was
lay
ready.
out
I see.
the path
and
where
then
we
it
want
would-
it, so
okay.
that it's pretty clear what we want volunteers to do. It's pretty straightforward. You just go and dump and pack it down, and yeah.
How many wheelbarrows and shovels do you think you kind of sort of need?
Well, unfortunately, you really need these really heavy wheelbarrows. And Rick doesn't even seem to have ones that are like the newer ones with the three
Yeah.
points, two wheels. You'd get in each other's way, so I think at most is a couple wheelbarrows, and then people at each end could shovel it in, and some other people could take it down.
Do you have an idea of where to get those?
Not yet.
Well, I think you could give a call. Selt has a lending tool. shop.
Yeah, I know
I
they've got.
don't know about the industrial aspect.
Yeah.
But also, the Rockingham County Conservation District has some tool lending
Okay.
capabilities. So
I'll check with them. Okay.
either one of those places.
Yeah, I know Selt or Nature Group he does. Yeah.
Rockingham Master Gardeners has one, but it gets booked a long time in advance.
I mean, at the very least, the ones that we have will work. You just don't put as much in there, and it's right there, so it's not like you could even use 5-gallon buckets and fill them halfway and move them around. So I think we'll figure out.
Oh, okay.
And if we only have 2 volunteers, we get 2 volunteers worth of stuff done. If we have 10, we get 10 volunteers worth of stuff. So it's whoever comes. I think it's going to be really nice.
Nature groupie as well as these.
What do you think? Because then we'd get different people. Does it matter if we have other people showing up at 10:30 to help?
I don't think so. My gut reaction would be there'd be potentially people that would want to use the site and be great stewards of the land on other aspects of Heron Point.
Yeah.
I would think.
Okay, yeah, I can post it there.
We did have a lot of people show up. The one other time we did a project out there, we had a lot of people from that neighborhood come.
Yeah,
I was amazed. We also had the Boy Scouts there too.
yeah. All right, I'll post it. I think that's fine. I'll post it on Nature Groupie. So the other piece, well, that's it for that volunteer day. I have some other stuff for Heron Point. But.
Do we need to vote about the?
Yes,
$600?
sorry, yes. If you would be willing to approve up to $600 for material for this trail work, this phase of the trail work.
Can I ask a question about that? When we have our Eagle Scout project going there, all those costs incurred, or the Eagle Scout is wrestling up the funds for what?
They try to, but my experience is it's hard for them to find it, so they usually come and ask.
They come and ask.
Yeah.
Depends on the project probably too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the flagpole at Shopmeyer Park, they got that funded by some outside group, but yeah, it just depends
It sort
on.
of depends.
Yeah.
Well, this might gain some traction from the visibility of October 2nd leading into the Eagle Scouts or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we expend up to $600 for rock for reinforcing the path, I guess is
Yeah,
the description.
Totally fine.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Okay.
thank you.
Oh, thank Rick for the excavating
Yeah,
and
that's
getting
really-
this bought
yeah.
into it.
Yeah, he's good.
And thank all of you for putting this together. It looks like a
Mm.
great program.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Well, we'll
Because-
see if there's more than just us who show up that
Yeah,
day.
I have to apologize in advance. I'll be traveling again that weekend, so I cannot.
That's okay, but you're gonna send some good vibes, Sam. We need the good vibes too.
I wish I could go with my daughter. This is right up her alley.
Question.
Yes, and LRAC is aware of it. Thanks for mentioning this. Sue just asked about other conservation commissions. We do have a conservation commissioner from Newfields participating as one of the presenters. And she would continue with you, or to be there when you and Dwayne would be talking at the Neil Mills site. So there's a nice something going on there. And Marianne Krebs is Durham, and she's also on LRAC, so she's kind of our spokesperson there. Now, I hadn't thought of Lee, but just now I think about Lee. I don't know how I forgot that. We know Don Jean's over there, so.
Yeah, they're hooked into our Facebook group as well.
Nice, so they'll
Yeah.
get it that way. Nice.
Uh,
Thank
que-
you, Sue.
Question, so when people call to register, it doesn't say here specifically where to meet at 8:30? Do
Huh.
people are going to know where to go at 8:30 or 8:45?
It doesn't say at the rec center. I'll be darned, 'cause without the rec center, we can't do it.
I wonder if we can add that somehow even on the front, or should at least
Yeah,
be told
I-
when they register that, are we
Yes.
getting people's like phone numbers and emails if we need to
When
send out a
they-
blast?
When they, yes, because the rec was interested in capturing that information
Mhm.
for future planning. So that's a human-to-human piece that happens, not a thing on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
But I can mention this to Lauren tomorrow.
Yeah, or we
to
should add
just
it
do
to
a
our,
quick edit on there.
yeah.
Thank you for noticing
Yeah,
that.
I'll make it clear and I'll post it.
Yeah, I guess just being so involved, it was like, duh.
Yeah.
Which means I should be saying, duh.
No, this is, you've done an amazing job.
Mm.
Well, it's fun to work with everybody on this. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Did you get a hold of Richie to do the Shotmeyer
Yes.
Park?
Yes, don't go for it, Melissa,
Excellent.
tell that.
Richie's in. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
That's good news, yeah. 'cause
I
he's-
was
he's-
actually gonna talk to you later about
Oh, good.
that, getting him
Okay.
some info, so,
Okay.
Glad-
thank you. And thank you, Dennis Abbott.
Is Dennis
for making
doing
it
it too?
happen.
Is Dennis doing it too?
No, but when I didn't hear back from Richie initially, I went, on
To Dennis.
your suggestion, I went to Dennis, and the next day I heard from Richie.
Perfect. Excellent. Good to hear.
And then, yeah, Neil Mill Road, that's gonna be Dwayne and I I think Dwayne will focus on the current sort of, the trails and the project, the new acquisition out there. And, probably give an overview about that. I'm gonna be more focused on talking about, sort of the past out there as far as, this is what it is today will be Dwayne, but this is what it was in the past. And when you walk, what are you seeing? You're seeing old farms. What were those farms? Who lived out here? Why is it called Neil Mill and things like that. So to give people sort of the historical view of the landscape, so you sort of have an idea of what you're looking at a little bit from that perspective.
Nice.
So working to get some more information from the Historical Society and just information on how to do that. So that's what we're focused on.
Do you
So
know Phil Ozier? He used to be the county extension forester.
Yep.
He's actually already been doing a lot of research on that area, so
Oh.
I can send you his contact
Yeah, that would
information. He'd
be
be happy
great.
to share it.
Yeah.
He'd totally be happy to share it.
Just say, Patrick, if you shoot me an email to my work email address, I do have, historical research on who owned the
Oh, that would
property
be great
occupied
too,
it
yeah.
back into the 1800s, early 1800s.
As you say this, I'm thinking it could be really neat follow-up to continue some of the education and information that flows out of this with the social media. So
Yeah.
when Patrick gets some of this, that can be another posting in a couple
Yeah,
weeks or
yeah, we
whatever
could
you think
sort
is
of
the right time.
Do little synopses of each place.
yeah, we can do that.
One thing that I've been asked about that property specifically is why it's in Newmarket and not in Newfields, because the town line goes around it.
Mm-hmm.
It was they did it, right? The town line was through there and it was in Newfields or South Newmarket. It was in Newfields and they switched the town line to go around this one person's farm. And I never researched to see why, because it didn't really matter for what I was doing, like why they actually modified the town line to go around that one person's farm.
Throw my-
I think that'd be very
My
interesting to
understanding
know.
would be that it was because it was connected to a farm that was further up the road, that property. And so you wouldn't want to put one person's property in two different towns. So that's why it was a jut out. In other words, although there's the old foundation out there, I think that must be really old. Like, I don't know how, I think that what, Newfields was created about 1840 something. Is that when it was created, I believe, out of Newmarket, right? It was South Newmarket. And, because even when that property was sold in recent history, it was part of the Tucker farm, right? So,
No, that was
yeah,
separate.
she sold it to.
The land across Neil Mill was.
But that was originally, the Tuckers owned all that
Yeah.
field back there too. They sold it to Mr. Gaziano.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must be misremembering.
Yeah, so I think it was all attached to that, and I don't know how far, maybe Diane Tucker knows, but,
Because when you take a, yeah.
anyway,
I'll show you
I'll
the
try and
research.
find
I'll
out,
show you the
but,
research.
because that's a good people have asked that question, a lot of
Mhm.
people do think it's in Newfields. They just guess because everything else sort of on that side is, so, it's a good,
It was separated out.
Yep.
By the Silverman Schneer property, was in between.
yep,
It was,
all right. Is there anything else on, the Heron Point work that we want to talk about?
Yeah, got a few things. So John sent the final forest management plan, which you should have received. It's a big file. Hopefully you were able to get it.
99 pages.
9 pages. And he'll print a hard copy once he hears back from us that we're good to go, and that we'll pay him for the plan since it's finalized. So the first thing we should probably do is see if you all agree and we should approve that plan.
Yeah,
If you have any-
I haven't read the entire plan myself, but what I did read, I thought was really good.
Yeah, I think he just did a few updates. He included the cost proposals, and I think he added a few things that we had recommended at the last meeting. So I read through it. Looks good to me, but
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve paying for
I
the
can
forest
make that
management?
motion to approve the plan and pay the $2,500.
And do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Great. So the other piece, as you know, last meeting, we approved him to come back to do the hazard tree work on the trail system, not on the riverfront, because that's a little bit more complicated, and he's scheduled to do that on Tuesday, the 14th. Did we say,
I did post it.
we said the 14th, right? Or did you just give the week?
I gave the week.
Yeah.
I said whatever you had said.
Yeah.
Probably before.
Yeah, I think is pretty well firmed up unless the weather's a problem, but the forecast looks pretty good for Tuesday. So unless we hear at the last minute, we'll go with the 14th. So I think a couple things. I will try to get a sandwich board from DPW so we can put it up that day to say it's closed. We shouldn't have the public going in there. And then I'm going to be going away on the 14th and gone for the rest of that week. I think it would be nice if someone could go there and meet John and just, make sure he's underway and just review exactly what he's doing, which is, it's my understanding, he's removing the hazard trees along the existing trail that we're keeping and also the new sections. So he needs to, so that's what he's planning to do. So I don't know what time. But if there's somebody, if you're willing, then I would just email John and say you're going to be the contact and just to keep you posted on. Would you be willing to? That'd be great.
Thank you, that'd
Yeah.
be awesome.
And it may just be just to go and say hi, yeah, great. Get you underway, just to be sure it's happening and all that. That'd be great, Melissa.
And if you see that there's some kind of issue as far as like people aren't aware for some reason and they've shown up there, you could probably let the town know and they would probably help, just make sure people know. I don't think it will be, but I mean, just in case. You've got Steve Fournier's contact or Rick. Yeah. I don't know who else we should consider.
Rick knows, and we can let Wendy. I can send Wendy an email.
Yeah.
But do we have? I think I lost some emails. But we should let the community know. There.
Heron Point.
Do you want to email that guy who's the?
Yeah. What was it? You had the contact for him, didn't you? Dale. Yeah. Do you still have that contact information?
I'm connected to him on Facebook. I can reach out to him.
Yeah, if you could reach out to him and just let him know, I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, because we should also make it closed from there at that access point off of the, that trail that comes in off of their section. So maybe I'll get 2 sandwich boards and we'll put one there too. Or if you could let him know and maybe he can share that information.
Yeah.
Because I think those people come in not that way and they walk a loop. You know what I mean?
From the park.
Well, there's the parking lot, so we'll put a sign right before the gate
Right.
and say it's closed. but then they can walk through their community down that private road and walk in on that trail.
Yeah, so that's where Dale's information would be the most
Yeah.
helpful. Thanks, Melissa, for taking on that.
And then I have one more piece for Heron Point.
You have already approved the $1,500 for the
Yeah,
removal of the trees.
Yeah.
So this motion should have been just for approving the management plan.
right. Yeah, the 2,500.
That's all it was,
Yep.
Oh, so that's $2,500.
Yeah, it was 2,500 for the plan, which we kind of already approved, but since we're approving the plan, we'll just
Yeah.
say it's okay to pay, essentially.
it.
So I also reached out to Greg, the Trails, if you remember, he's the Trails guy with John. And remember we talked about having him lead a volunteer workday so that he could train people on how to
Oh,
properly, especially which is the 6A, 60, 60, 60, that the eastern trail, which comes up on the hill and then comes back down, involves some stone work. So he's available to do that. I asked him about Saturday, October 16th or Saturday, October 23rd, and he's available either of those days. And so I wondered if you all thought that would be great if we had another volunteer workday. We would post that on Nature Groupie and have Greg come. He did say, I think it's because it might involve some stone work. He said up to $550 to lead the workday. Because I think it involves some stonework. I'm not sure it would be that much, but, and he might have thought that was for 2 days, I'm not quite sure, but because the timing is such, I guess we could wait till next meeting to firm that up, or we could approve that tonight, if you think that's a good idea. I just think we need a professional trails person to really train people on how to do the trail work, and then we do a section of trail, and then we could finish that up with volunteers at another time.
And do you think that's realistic to do this fall? Is that why you
Yeah,
want to
I
get it
think we should,
approved?
I
Yeah.
think we should get it going, yeah.
Then
I
I
think
think
that-
we should approve it tonight.
Yeah, I think I think he's a very good, he's a trails professional, he does this kind of stuff. And it does make a difference to have people, there are certain ways to do trails, so I think it would be good. I'm happy to make that motion.
Okay.
To spend up to $550 to hire Greg DeSanto through, I guess he's part of Martin Forestry, to lead a volunteer workday in October. Or just to say a volunteer workday, just in
What
case.
was the sum of money?
Up to $550.
Oh, up to 550, okay, thank you.
I'll second that motion. All in
Discussion?
favor?
Sorry,
Is there,
Oh,
I know last
sorry.
meeting you discussed that we had like a $500 cap.
$1,500.
15.
Perfect, sorry.
Yep.
Remember.
It's a good question, but yeah, no, it's 15.
That's right.
Okay. Any other questions? Sorry, I didn't want to cut off. Anyone else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. So anybody have a preference for October 16th or the 23rd? If there's other stuff going on, it's not Columbus Day. That's the week before, I
That's the week
believe.
before, okay, that was my question.
Columbus Day is the 11th, as far as my calendar shows.
Is there an advantage to doing it the 16th? Because the closer you get to the end of October, all bets are off of weather this year, but.
Yeah, maybe if we have the 16th, and then if it's pouring or something,
Then the-
maybe he could save the
Yeah.
23rd.
23rd is your second chance.
Okay. All right, I'm going to do that and get back to him and do Nature Groupie. And I'm going to get back to what I told Amy, the scout, is that it would be really great for her crew to come to that workday, the October 16th workday, so they learn how to do trail work, and then she can lead her crew when she does her project, which we thought would be the 4, if you remember, that's the 4A.
Right.
The one that reroutes around the point, essentially. Great. I think that's everything I had for Heron Point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're excited. It's going to be a whole new world out there by the time we're done.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. I did talk to John Martin, the forester, about the riverfront hemlock trees. Because he said that would be pretty expensive, even for think, was it 4,000 or 5,000? So I asked him if he would be able to flag the trees he thought should come down when he comes up next week. But he would have to charge for that work, which makes sense. You know, it's extra. He'd have to go back out and really evaluate the trees. So I told him to hold off because I thought maybe that's something, we could go out there and see which trees we think might need to come down and then bring in some other local tree people. Because he has to come pretty far.
Yep.
Like Orion Tree Service does a lot of local tree work, and
Yep.
get a different estimate once we decide if we think some of those trees need to come down. Because I don't think it's immediate issue. Does that sound like a good, a plan? Yeah, so he's just gonna do the trees, the hazard trees on the other parts of the trails.
Somebody did ask, after it was posted that we were closing Heron Point to do the tree work,
Uh-huh.
they asked about us removing the trees that are in the river. And
Oh,
said, no, we're not doing that, but I think maybe we should at least on that day talk about, that,
yeah, you're not supposed to remove trees out of the river, their
Right,
habitat, yeah.
right,
yeah.
and,
So
or just,
talk about it.
kind of generally,
Mhm.
trees fall and, what's good or bad in that situation and why are we doing this work kind of thing, and,
Mhm.
but yeah, just, good point
Yeah,
about,
that's
people
good.
do it, unfortunately, especially above the dam. I think a lot of that goes on when they can't navigate where they want there,
Mhm.
moving trees around up there, but,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
yep. Okay. I did have a meeting on the Neal Mill Road parking. So I met with the leaders of CELT, and Rick was also there, Director of Public Works, Rick Molaski. And, just to remind everybody, what we currently have out there is about 8 to 10 spots. And what Rick's crew did in 2020 was they widened the road a little bit there, I would say probably 4 or 5 feet. They then dug down 4 feet, and similar to the project that we're having, they filled in with rock, and then there's gravel on top of that. So it's actually sustained this summer of extreme rain events really well, because what that allows it to do is to drain down instead of washing everything off the top. So the current parking out there is not the major issue. The major issue is there's no place to turn around really. So the private property owner at the end of the road owns property on either side of the road, and it's not really great to have a lot of people turning around in there. In addition, that's also where trucks turn around that service that area for waste and for snow plowing. So that's really the bigger issue. So we're talking with Selton Rick. We did talk about carving out a small section in the Tucker property side of the road, so that would, if you were going towards the dead end, it would be on the right before you get up to the little pottery house that's there. Before you get there, that property was purchased by CELT with our assistance, and we hold an executory interest there. The only question is with federal permitting, because they did get federal wetlands water money, is that they weren't sure how many feet from the wetlands their requirement would be, whether it would be 150 feet, 250 feet, 300 feet. There was so they were going to research that, and then they said they would be willing to look at doing that. And what we were talking about would be angled in parking off the side of the road. And what that would do would give people the ability to back out and then drive away when they were done, which it just makes it a little easier. So the parallel parking now, it provides parking but doesn't make it easy to turn around. And it means that although the private property owner has been pretty patient with people out there, I do think it's legitimate if they don't want people turning around in their property all the time. Especially if they develop that property as a garden or something like that. They don't want people, driving through there. So again, CELT's gonna look at that, and if it works out, we'll have more information and we'll provide an update. And so I'll keep you posted on that, but that's sort of the temporary thing we were looking at there.
How far down the road is that from because I know that we have easement over part of that land, right?
Right,
So you're saying before, not over the easement portion where we have it, but over the SELT portion?
yeah,
down closer to the
exactly.
stream.
There's a little carve out where that easement is that you're referring to, where you actually see the Newmarket markers. And so it would be north of that, basically, because that road's pretty much north-south running, going towards the downhill part. So, yeah, you're right. There's the private property where the Pottery House is, and there's a little parking area that used to be there. That's being turned into a garden, so. Then there's the little easement that we have, and then there's the SELT property, and this would be on the SELT property. And we're talking about 8 to 10 spots. So we're not talking about providing a lot more parking, it's just more about turning around than anything else.
Yeah, I showed up there the other day, and it was in the afternoon on the weekend, and they're like, oh, there was just 15 cars here, and tons of people out there, and I showed up, there were only 2 cars, and they were parked all the way down by the stream.
Aha, so that tells you there were a lot of people there.
There were a lot of people there. Yeah, I know when I go in the morning very early, I turn around just in the gravel, it's wide enough to actually do like a 3-point turn. But yeah, if there are other cars, I can't imagine how you would turn around besides.
And there are people that have bigger trucks that come there, but that is interesting that you say there's 15, because we were trying to get a
That's what I was
census
told.
of how often it actually fills up there.
Yeah.
But it's become, every area is more popular than it's ever been, right?
I rarely see more than, if I go there in the afternoon on the weekend or sometime, I might see 3 or 4 cars there at the most.
Yeah.
But in the morning, there might be 1 other car or 2 other cars early.
Well, we're about to enter the prime season for going there, right? Because the bugs are on the wane, and it's really nice out there once that happens.
Is the town going to continue to plow snow then?
They do plow all the way up to the
Yeah.
gate.
Yeah, I mean, if they
Currently.
were to expand the parking area into the SELT property, would the town plow it, or would that be SELT?
I think they would, because they'd actually like to use it
Help
maybe
them.
to help them turn around.
So they would allow them to turn.
Because right
they
now,
let
they're
us-
having to access that private property to turn around themselves, and it might be easier to just back up and then turn into there, and so they probably would use it for that as well. Because when they're plowing usually for snow, there's not gonna be a lot of people in that parking lot, probably.
Yeah, I know. I parked there all winter. One time I came back from a long walk, and there was a pile of snow right behind my car. So I kept them from plowing to it as well.
And then, the Ash Swamp Road crossing, it sounds like the town is interested in looking at that, so we don't have a lot of update other than there's potential there for something to happen, so we'll wait for more updates on that, but potentially a box culvert perhaps going in there would be an improvement. Certainly been an interesting year, right? The water's gone up and down all year there. Every time I go by now, I look at the water to see if it's up or down.
It's up again. For
It's
some
up
reason,
again.
And we haven't seen any beaver activity of late, and so
Yeah.
we're just wondering if debris, when they opened it, the water started to gush through again.
Yeah.
I wonder if that just carried some debris up to it, or if there are beaver that just not coming into our
Yeah.
yard.
All right.
It's great to hear.
Does anyone have anything else?
Just a reminder think about a library card.
I think we all have some takeaways now. All right. Well, I will make a motion to adjourn then. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.
Thank you.